I welcome you again to our program that is entitled Theological. This is our theological class, but it is entitled Integrative Theology. And I don't know why I'm dealing with theological integration. And sometimes you have to understand that God may impress something upon your mind. And so I'm listening to the Spirit, and it could become a new program. But let's get into our integrative theology course. I am your host, Bishop Dr. Derek A. Reeves, and this is the second supplemental lecture to Lecture 7. Lecture 7 is the principle of being. The second supplemental lecture is how substance produces essence. In the first supplemental lecture, we dealt with the difference between substance and essence. Again, substance is the foundation upon which all essence derives its existence in the form of material. And so substance, then, we also found out that substance, then there is a substance of substance. When we speak of God, God is the progenitor of all things. Therefore, God as the auctor, progenitor, the beginner or the author of all things that are brought into being, we must see the nature of God as the breath of breath, or the spirit of spirit. He is the one that enables all other spirit to exist. We think of the thinker, of the thought of thought. And so God then is the thought of thought. He is the primary thought, the first thinker, and his thought enabled all other capacities to think from every sentient being. The thinker of thinking. That means that in the mind of God, there was a conglomerate effort of his will to transfer the power to think to those who were created by him, to be intelligent, those who were created by him, to have a mind. Therefore, he is the thinker of thinking. He is the thought of thought. He is the glory of light. He is the outshining of effulgence. And he is the life of life. And so when we begin to talk about God, and we begin to talk about how substance produces essence, remember the substance begins with the very mind of God. The substance begins as a thought within the mind of God. Therefore, the thoughts of God, because they are eternal, he never begins to think, but he has perpetually always thought about what he desires, about what he knows, about what his plans and purposes are, about what he desires. And so, as the primus mind, or the primus mens, his mind then has ever been thinking. His mind never runs out of energy. His mind never gets confused. His mind is never without knowledge that has been or that is absolute. And so God, as the thinker of the thought of thought, then remember, all thought, all power of thought has been in the mind of God before creation was. The mind of God, then, in his thoughts, are the patternizations of all reality. The thoughts of God are the building blocks that will release essence, that will cause the imagery of the perpetual thoughts of God to come into existence. And so, how does essence begin? It begins with the eternal mind of God that has ever seen what he would do, that has ever willed what he would do. that has ever known everything that he would create it from its smallest essential existence to its greatest. And so the thought of God provides the blueprint and the energy that once released through verbalization, whether that verbalization was the thought of God or whether it was the vocalization of that thought. Now, let me make something very clear. When we speak of the vocalization of the thought of God, that can happen in one or two ways, and we are not told literally what it means, because all we know, God said. The word in the Hebrew means to speak words, to speak, to communicate. And so God then can think, and in his mind, there is a verbalization that's going on that is in correspondence to his will. So as God thinks, he is communicating the thought of his will. But then again, God could have spoken with sound and resonance. So either way, whether he thought it telekinetically through telepathy, released the thoughts of his mind, or he spoke it, and every thought of his mind became material reality. And so the thought, the word becomes essence. The thought and the word of God, now when directed by the will of God, produces the energy that created the quantum streams of energy, the electron, all of the what we would call the subatomic particles, all of the energy in the universe, and everything else that is necessary for the streams of space to exist, for all of the powers and all of the energies that will enable physical matter to exist, such as planets, such as stars, such as suns, and whatever is existence, all of the strange matter, the interesting matter that's, again, subatomic. He thought it, he verbalized it either minciologically or with an utterance that goes beyond our understanding. And this intentional release of his thoughts produced essence. And the essence is the conglomeration of everything that's in existence in the ontological reality. This is all the time we have. We thank you for joining us. I am your host, Bishop Dr. Derek A. Reeves, and this has been the second supplemental lecture in our class. And so we thank you for joining us with Integrated Theology. Until next time, may God bless and keep you.